Thanks everyone. So my name's Jithma Beneragama. I'm the Executive Director excuse me, of Digital Design and Innovation at the Department of Premier and Cabinet in Victoria. So today I'm here to talk to you about collaboration and community. And so what that means to me is ecosystems. So I'm not going to try and tell you about Drupal ecosystems. You guys are definitely the experts on that. But what I know about ecosystems. So ecosystems built around products and technology, about ecosystems that I've helped to create in the past, and ecosystems that I've seen around the world that bring together government and the industry. And hopefully, I'm going to leave you with a few thought starters about what we could potentially do to create an ecosystem together around our digital transformation product, Single Digital Presence. So, before I get into that detail, I think it's important to let me set the scene about the department within which we work, my team, and finally about me. And I know it's a bit of an indulgence, but I think it will help set some of the context of the things that we're talking about today. So, DPC. So we're a branch within the Department of Premier and Cabinet, and along with the usual things that a DPC is responsible for in the context of government, it actually also owns the digital transformation agenda within, the public sector reform agenda within Victoria. And within this agenda, the big areas of focus are really about working on the really complex problems. So the problems that go beyond the traditional bounds of government, the traditional bounds of agencies, and really look at complex problems. So it's looking at how we work to increase our cadence, bringing in new skills to increase our effectiveness and to approach problems in different ways. So in that context, in the context of our work, these problems range from breaking down silos between government departments and how they share information, or how we might take advantage of new technologies to engage more Victorians in key decision making, such as service design or budget allocation. And more, this is leading to questions about how we can collaborate across the Victorian government and more broadly. So how we can collaborate with the public purpose sector and with the private sector to bring innovative solutions to the problems that we face as a state, and really leveraging the different experiences we all bring to the table to develop better solutions for us all. So a little bit about my team. So our role is very much about driving digital transformation in a consistent way within the Victorian government. And in this role, we're taking this approach of collaboration and building of ecosystems to find new solutions to many problems that government's trying to solve. We tend to focus on the enablers and reusable technologies that help to unlock potential, allow for greater collaboration, and provide better ROI for all of us. In some ways, I describe this work as trying to identify and enable the core digital public infrastructure we need in order to transform as an organisation and to make it easier for innovators to operate and collaborate with us to solve these increasingly complex problems we face. We're also, I think, quite an interesting mix of individuals, bringing together people from a range of different backgrounds, including startup, digital agencies, large corporates, academia, and government, to create our team and to shape a new way of working within government. And so, I'm going to use this as an opportunity for a plug. And so if any of that sounds interesting to you, we're actually on the hunt for a new tech lead for Sdp. So if anyone's interested, come and have a chat. Anyway, so a little bit about me. So I've been in government for about 4 years now. And prior to that time in my career, I've worked in both startups and in large corporates, always with a focus on digital media. And my roles have really been around compelling digital products and services and things like video streaming services, games download services, and a range of other e-commerce and related products. I did that for about 12 years. And during that time, I was lucky to be part of a startup that listed on the NASDAQ. And I launched and ran some of this market's first and leading mobile content services. And I created some pretty big dogs, bombed out services. And so, from doing all of this work and working with a number of different organisations, I've learnt a few things. Of all of these services, the ones that succeeded, I found that the ones that succeeded were achieved through partnership, where all parties had skin in the game, and equally as importantly, they all had opportunity for significant upside. This upside had been achieved through models such as revenue sharing, shared intellectual property, or co-investment. And through these models, I've seen many partners leverage these opportunities into lucrative exits, acquisitions, both doing the buying and also doing the selling, driving innovation, or just simply to grow. So earlier this year, I was part of a digital government executive group who travelled to Europe to meet with governments and successful businesses and businesses who were successfully transforming themselves. We went to Estonia, we went to Sweden, the Netherlands and the UK. We met with large corporates, government transformation units, central government agencies, and although they're all approaching transformation in their own way, there was common themes that kept coming up in every conversation. So in Estonia, they talked about the history of their X-Road, and they talked about their digital ID. And what they told us, that these innovations were produced through deep partnership with their homegrown private sector. They were all really proud of the 4 unicorns that have come out of Estonia. A country of, I think, 1.3 million, which is amazing. And who had developed through close partnership with government, and who were now helping to grow the next crop of startups in Estonia. In Sweden, the city of Stockholm talked about their 200 transformation projects powered through close partnerships between business, universities, and government. These projects will reshape their city and how Sweden will compete as a country. In a conversation with a large fast fashion retailer, their director of AI told me about how they're collaborating with the startup community. And through a shared lab space, they were helping these startups train their AI by giving them access to the retailer's data. And in return, the retailer was already seeing massive improvements to their bottom line. In the UK, they talked about the shift in their procurement and partnership models. They talked about their shift in their partnership and procurement model that was focusing on growing their local industry, creating opportunities for innovative solutions to be tested, incubated, and developed, again, in partnership between government, the tech sector, and the finance industry. So in each country, the theme was collaboration and ecosystems, not just for the benefit of government, but ecosystems that were created to provide upside and opportunity for all the players in the market. So what does that mean in our context? A focus for our team is creating an environment where collaboration within government and industry and other third-party organisations to drive innovation in our state can easily happen. The idea being that together we can solve problems better. To do this, we've created a range of principles that help us guide our approach to technology. So we preference open source technologies over proprietary and are committed to open sourcing what we create. We'd like to create collaborative win-win relationships with our partners. We're willing to experiment and to try to go to market with problems that we can solve together, as opposed to predefined solutions that we want someone to just deliver for us. And we're trying to identify and deliver the fundamental tools and standards that will make it easier for innovation to take place in our state. So to do this, we're building out core digital infrastructure that will support collaboration. This includes projects like a whole of Victorian government API gateway and API capability, which will deliver sharing capability internally within government, but also sharing with our partners and through our open data, which we hope will help drive innovation of government service delivery. We developed last year the whole of Victorian government community engagement service. So this one was built in collaboration with our partner, the Hive, and they've gone on to then on-sell that product to other governments and organisations around the world. And we're changing how we approach things like open data through a service like MyVic, which today helped us build, which is making our data more accessible to more users by providing mapping and visualisation capability, which is again largely an open source project. And we're developing a range of digital guidelines that help teams across government define their needs and work with their partners to deliver better digital services. And finally, there's single digital presence, which I will tell you about in a bit more detail. So, many people in government start me off with this question. What's the difference between SDP and GovCMS? So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time on that. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge all of the hard work that the GovCMS team have done over the last few years, and before that, previous Next, who worked on the original AGov distribution. So through their work, they prove that governments can innovate and that they can create their own path. This, I think, is the beauty of open source and what brings us all here today. And in true open source style, we're seeing the GovCMS team take up the same hosting and support model we pioneered with our partners, Salsa Digital and Amazy. Early in our journey, we actually assumed that we would take GovCMS and either fork it or continue to work on the distribution. To test if that was the right approach, we spent some time trying to understand what was the right technology for the problem that we were trying to solve. And so we lined up a number of CMS products, and using an algorithm, with the help of our partner today, we compared those against our principles and our problems. And ultimately, this all linked back to the purpose of our team and what we were trying to achieve. The purpose of our team was to make it easier for users to find, understand, and apply government information. For SDP, this helped us crystallise the problem the platform was trying to solve, and therefore the technology that we needed to use. And the problem was all about customer experience first and technology fragmentation a close second. So taking us back to GovCMS, I actually think the two services are trying to solve different problems. And the particular problem that we are trying to solve with SDP is about customer experience through better content discovery through flexible publishing. This focus on discovery and publishing has been the starting point for many of the decisions that we have made and what defines the product that we've created. That said, the common element that links the two distributions and our teams we're both Drupal at our core. We rely on the strength of the Drupal community, and it's the commitment to collaboration and the creation of a strong, vibrant ecosystem around the technology. Fun fact, when we started our program, we only had 5 sites we managed, and it was actually called Project Voltron. 5 became 1. We only had the problem for us was that quickly went from 5 to 50 when we became part of DPC, and our nicely curated view of the world of Voltron turned into minions. So when I talk about the problem SDP is trying to solve, I describe it as a customer experience problem first and a technology problem second. Our business case for SDP was to improve the experience for Victorians trying to find important government information online It was about making it easier for those users to find this content, navigate our sites, and ultimately apply this information to themselves. The problem is that the 900 plus government websites in Victoria use different user interfaces, different approaches to information architecture and design, and things had diverged so much that our users at times were not even certain they were on a government site. Additionally, we knew a model where you rely solely on your user coming to your site for information was pretty old school, and users found and accessed information through mostly non-government channels, such as commercial websites or social media. In terms of the technology, it was also pretty simple of an overly complex environment with way too much duplication, which was resulting in our development and support dollars being stretched across way too many technologies. Fragmentation across government was also an issue, where we knew department teams were all pretty much churning out the same old types of sites on a regular basis. And because of the approach across government, there was very limited opportunities for reuse. This compounds when you consider the diversity of the size of organisations involved in government. You've got departments with thousands and thousands of employees, and then you've got small agencies or commissioners with less than 10 staff. And finally, from a personal point of view, and the point of view from our team, what all of this meant was that the bulk of our budgets and the bulk of our efforts was all about support and maintenance, leaving little time and funds available for innovation of our services, the things that we really wanted to do. And so alongside all of this, we did some pretty extensive user experience research, which went deeper into the needs of our users, what they want and what they told us we needed to focus on. And the final piece of the puzzle is the business or government, our internal users. On that front, it really goes down to the purpose of websites. It is fundamentally because you want someone to read some content and do something with it. And we found that this fragmented approach to websites and limitations were causing limitations in the way we publish content was making it harder to achieve this aim. So taking all of this research on board, we started the Sdp Journey. So my caveat here is that if you want tech, there's Kurt and Guy and Tim and Amber who are in the room who will be able to give you far more about that than me. But what I can talk to you about is the business. So Sdp is actually 3 separate products that together solve the problem of a consistent digital experience for users. The 3 pieces are our hosting environment Bay, Tide, the content management system, and Ripple, the presentation layer. So Bay is our fully managed platform and hosting environment. It's auto-healing, auto-scaling, offers automated testing and updates. As I said, this is all Kurt's realm and not mine. But what I can talk to you about is the business benefits. And so the business benefits of a technology like this are that it gives us a super flexible and secure environment that gives the team the tools they need and our end users a fast and consistent experience. And for the business, a cost-effective way to scale. And more importantly, the opportunity to just do things once, which ultimately saves us time and money. So Tide is the Headless CMS, a piece where our content can be managed and then published to many different channels via our content API. Our business model is not about traffic or audience. It's about the reach of the information we offer. And as I said earlier, the view we have is that content will be the view we have about how content's going to be consumed on the web is that it's going to become more and more site agnostic. Recognizing this, we wanted the ability to allow our content to be consumed across many different channels, but authoring and publishing control to be retained by the content owner. Additionally, our research had shown that our users really didn't care about government structures when they consume content. They wanted to find relevant content in their context so they could consume content where they wanted. And therefore, the role of our CMS is about making all this happen. So these were many of the drivers that helped us to go headless. And again, I'm happy to say the approach is working. In addition to the website, the websites we've been publishing using Tide, we've been playing with the API and seeing how else it can be consumed. At the start of this year, we ran a hack day, looking at how voice interfaces could be used across government. And the hack, internally, was also to test Tide and our content API to see how it would go publishing content to a completely different medium. We put forward 3 use cases, looking at how voice could be used. So one was for veterans, the second one was for a person with a disability, and the last was for someone from a non-English speaking background. And so through the hack, we collaborated with many organisations such as Depend, Versa, Today, Salsa Digital, Telstra, PwC, Ogilvy, AWS, Amazon, and Google, who are all parts of the digital ecosystem in Victoria. And alongside our own internal development teams, policy teams, and across government, our policy teams across government and not-for-profits. And so doing this, we brought together diverse experience, lived experience, and technical know-how to experiment with this new technology and see how it could be deployed to achieve our purpose, making it easier for our users to find, understand, and apply government information. So through the hack, we had 6 MVPs created. Our API was tested, and it worked, relief. And because the hack was run using Sdp, which is also our new publishing platform, we had a clear path to take these ideas and launch one of them as a service, something that we'll be doing in the next 12 months. And in addition to that, our headless approach is allowing us to experiment with other publishing mediums and channels. And so please watch this space. So the third part of the solution is our front end, Ripple. And as I said, achieving better user experience, for our sites was a big driver for Sdp. The project is about making it easier for our customers by simplifying and unifying our content and our experience. So Ripple is a really important part of that solution, taking an atomic design approach to give web teams and developers access to pre-designed, developed and tested elements to build a new site. Using these elements, we've seen designers pull together new service concepts for their clients in an hour or so, and have significantly reduced development times for new services. And although our approach is about achieving some level of consistency across our sites, we also understand that brand and brand persona is a really important part of digital communication. And it's for this reason that alongside all of these technical elements, we've also spent time creating a governance structure around the platform that helps navigate brand and user experience, but also supports the creation and management of new components for the distribution and how they can be given back. Sorry. So the way I describe the solution we've created is one that actually provides us with 3 different ways to improve the digital experience for Victorians. Providing a secure and scalable hosting environment that gives a solid foundation from which to build services with many of the core government requirements already baked in, a modern and future-looking CMS to manage content and publishing of our information across a range of different interfaces, and an easy-to-use pattern library that can be picked up and used to help users navigate our sites in a consistent way. But more importantly, it provides us and our partners with a structured environment within which to innovate, reusing existing elements and creating new components when needed. And because the distribution is open source, allowing all users to maximise their return on investment on money they spend on development through reuse across the distribution and leveraging other people's work. And for the smaller or less technical users, it reduces barriers to entry. It makes it easier for anyone to pick up the platform and start building, knowing that the majority of standards around accessibility and security are already baked in. So we've got the platform, and we've started trying to create a community around it within Victorian government. So let me just talk a little bit about our journey and that ecosystem we're trying to create. So when we started down this road, we thought we would start small, build an MVP, learn from it, and then scale. The idea was to try and solve the problems we talked about earlier within the Department of Premier and Cabinet, learn from the mistakes that we were definitely going to make, correct, and then scale the platform to one that all departments within Victoria would want to pick up. It was a simple, pretty plan. Build out the products, test them out on something relatively simple, and then scale. On one hand, I wish that actually happened. On the other, I see the way that things actually happened as a testament to us being onto something. I remember back earlier in my career when I was working for a startup in Shanghai, and our hunt for that ever so elusive product market fit. You know you've got it right when the product when you've got the product just right, when suddenly you start seeing demand grow organically. And then the team's concern changes from, will this work? Or how the hell are we going to get people to buy this stuff? To, oh shit, how are we going to meet all of this demand? And well, for us, we hit the oh shit moment for SDP pretty early in the piece. To be precise, we hit that point before we'd actually built all the components of the platform. So this was about a month into our build when the Department of Treasury and Finance said they would like to come onto the platform to help prove the whole of government capability. But they came to us with a catch, and that was the site needed to be delivered before the state budget in May. So I think they spoke to us in around about December. Now, when I talk about ecosystems, and I talk about the capacity to deliver, there are a couple of points I really want to make clear. So if I go back to our principles, our work is open source, and our vision for SDP is a toolkit that can be used by a team, be it an internal team or their partner, to deliver with very limited barriers to entry. The ecosystem we want to create is one where we're all working off the same platform, with a growing list of basics already built in, ready for use, and where we can all collectively, meaning government, its partners, digital agencies, and other users of the distribution, get to take advantage of the investment made in the platform, and where we can free up more of our development budgets to innovate our service offering. And for us, I'd like to say it's really happening. Early this year, we launched alpha.vic.gov.au. This was the first release of the site using all the components that make up SDP. So our new front end, the Headless CMS, and the hosting environment. This one was delivered in partnership with Salsa Digital and Amaze.io, who are actually our partners in building out the initial distribution. The next one that came alongside was Worksafe. So this one, Worksafe was the next group to group to launch using the platform. And this service built by Today was actually built alongside SDP. And because of the shared approach around open source delivery, our internal delivery team, our partners, Salsa Digital, and today, were able to collaborate on the delivery of the platform and the service. The next one was the shared service provider for Victorian government. And so for this one, it was a really quick and easy delivery that just reused existing modules and elements built from Alpha and was built by Salsa Digital. And for me, this is now where it starts getting even more interesting. So the next cab off the rank was a site called My Victoria. And this is where I think we're starting to see the real benefits of the platform and our approach. And as I said, where things are definitely getting more interesting. So this service is completely different to the other sites that have been created using SDP. And in this case, it was more about adding new modules and new capability and functionality to the platform. And so through this site, we'll be adding some mapping and data visualization modules to the SDP offering in the future. And this one was delivered by Today and Geoplex. And so it goes on. The next site is Buying for Victoria. And again, this is a really simple project in terms of technology, but what it was a really complex project when it came to content. And so when our vendor, when the vendor who worked on this one, Deepend, started getting stuck into delivery, they could actually look at how they could leverage, how they could skew more of their resources towards content design and content creation, knowing that the bulk of the build effort was already done. And then the last one I'm going to talk to you about is Victoria Police. So along the way, Victoria Police came to us and said, hey, we want to use this distribution for all of our publicly facing sites. And again, the power of this platform based on open source, on an open source approach, quickly shows this value. So VicPol selected Ogilvy as their partner to deliver this service. And again, working with them, the VicPol team and our internal platform team, we were quickly able to identify where existing components could be used to meet their needs, but more importantly, where new components were required, and plan for how these new components could be drawn back into the platform to be reused by someone else into the future. And I'm happy to say that we're also giving back as part of this project. And so along the way, we've given back to the broader Drupal community by contributing things like multi-site functionality for Headless, preview functionality for Headless, web forms using Vue.js, and path auto integration for Headless. And our strategy is about continuing to do that, being a contributor to the ecosystem and being a valuable partner to everyone involved. And also alongside that, we also continue to work closely with the GovCMS team, giving them access to our roadmap and look forward to continuing to collaborate with them on further parts of both distributions. So what's next? So for us, I think the journey for SDP has only just started, and there's so much more that we want to do. If you're interested in seeing our roadmap, please go to the URL, so alpha.vic.gov/single digital presence product roadmap. In particular, something that we believe is going to be a fundamental part of the success of this distribution is about creating something that's easy to use, not just for our front-end users, but internally for content publishers. And so an area of focus will be the admin interface to create a great experience for our content owners, giving them an easy to use set of tools for publishing and content management. To get this going, our UX team have already started conducting research on the authoring and publishing process, and will soon start planning our development work. Working on this interface is something we think would be very beneficial to the Drupal community, and is something we would love to collaborate with the community on through our research or through development. And so, in closing, my final thoughts on this. So going back to how I started, what I'm really interested about is ecosystems. It's about how we can create shared ecosystem, how we can create shared ownership for SDP and create that opportunity for shared upside for all of the partners involved. So on the most basic level, this will come from the opportunity to work with departments and agencies to build their sites on the distribution. And as I said, this is an opportunity we're already seeing, where we're seeing departments and agencies already referencing SDP in their RFQs. They're approaching our team for advice about how to go about their new build and who they should be partnering with to deliver their new sites. But if this is all we do, and if this is all what an ecosystem looks like, I really feel like we've lost an opportunity. We've lost an opportunity to create a true ecosystem and to leverage the opportunity to define true upside together, to co-create a distribution that's not sector-specific, that is forward-looking, positioning itself as a true contender and a credible option in a world that's changing from websites and mobile apps and experiments with voice and AI to truly integrated omni-channel digital experiences that are contextual and personalised, and the opportunity to position Australia as leaders within the Drupal community. Thank you.